Good evening, everyone. I'm pleased to virtually welcome you to the 2022 Bermuda Arts Council Awards. I truly wish that I could have been there this evening to celebrate in person. However, previous scheduling has caused me to be off island. But I wanted to recognize this important occasion, and so I'm sharing this message of support and congratulations this evening. As the Minister of Youth, Culture, and Sport, it is my honor to recognize 5 recipients for the Arts Council Awards. These deserving Bermudians have inspired so many of us with their artistic creativity and passion. Our ministry understands the importance of art as a universal language where individual expression becomes the ultimate storyteller. Art connects us with our heritage by providing a small window into the lives of our ancestors from previous periods in our history. We are so very proud to support the work of the Arts Council as they shine a spotlight on the talent, hard work, and dedication of the following deserving Bermudians. Rosheena Beek, who is being honored posthumously, and Patricia Pogson-Nesbitt are being presented with the Lifetime Achievement Award as they created significant bodies of original work that is representative of the Bermudian spirit. St. Clair, Brinky and Rick Spurling will receive Founder Awards for being pioneers in their respective art form and are recognized as cornerstones upon which the arts in this community have been built. And Clement Talbot is receiving the Patron Award as he has been the benefactor to the Bermuda Arts Community. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so pleased that you are here this evening, as your presence gives testament to the value that you place on the work of these artistic giants. I would also like to recognize the family members who are here in support and who undoubtedly supported the awardees during their many years of service to Bermuda's community. On behalf of the government, I congratulate them all on this important Bermudian cultural and artistic achievement. Thank you and enjoy this evening's proceedings.
Bermuda Arts Council's annual awards ceremony began in 1987 with the creation of our Lifetime Achievement Awards to highlight and honor Bermudian artists who have created a significant body of work and are therefore respected in their art form. In 2001, the Founders Awards were introduced to recognize local creatives who have paved the way for future generations by being pioneers in their art form. Over the years, this has been expanded to include cultural contributions in addition to art making. For 2022, Bermuda Arts Council has focused on cultural preservation, highlighting the contributions of 2 Bermudians dedicated to preserving the culture of St. David's. Later, Bermuda Arts Council added a 3rd award category, the Patron Awards. These signify our community's appreciation to persons who have contributed significantly to Bermuda's artistic landscape through their generous support of the arts. It is my great pleasure to introduce incoming Chair, Ms. Shanna Hollis, to present the 2022 Bermuda Arts Council Awards to these 5 well-deserving recipients.
Help me to celebrate our children, help me to celebrate our mothers, help me to celebrate our Bermudian talent, and I look forward to this journey with you, so come along.
Tonight, the Bermuda Arts Council honors the late Rosheena Beek with the posthumous Lifetime Achievement Award for her many contributions to Bermuda's arts community through her filmmaking, writing, and entrepreneurialism. Mother to 3 grown children, sons Tuare, Aurul, and daughter Rosheena Aliyah, She was well known for her vibrant spirit and vivacious personality. A champion of Black women, she was passionate about family, about children in the community, as well as about the importance of culture to Bermudian society. She had a particular appreciation for African culture, which she shared with the young through her children's book, Mommy Says, and with the whole community through the popular Nubian Nook store she owned and ran on Court Street. Here, she sold books, clothing, and gifts, many of which came from Africa. Rosheena was born in 1969 to Vincent Smith and Edith Beek, the second of 4 children. She grew up in Pembroke on Happy Valley Road and then by Standard Hardware Store on St. John's Road. She was educated first at Delwood Primary School and then at Sandy Secondary School. She enjoyed reading from an early age, as well as writing stories and plays from the age of 10.
She used to read stories, she used to tell stories, she used to write a lot. She's written like plays and things like that.
She also loved dance, African and modern, which she would perform and choreograph. Her last show happening before the birth of her son, Tuare, in 1989. However, her interest in filmmaking did not begin until 2002, when the St. David's Island Reconnection Indian Committee held the first powwow to be convened in Bermuda.
We initially set out to go to be a part of it because we knew that our family was a part of, the connection as well. That was her first time she really picked up a camera.
Her friends apparently were amazed by the excellence of the footage, considering it was a first attempt. That was Rosheena's initial film, which she called Keepers of the Gate, Bermuda's reconnection of the spirit, and went on to sell as a DVD. The film also had an encore showing on ZBM. The powwow was a pivotal moment for Rosheena. It was then she found the film could be an outlet for her in storytelling. As her daughter says, she just fell in love from there. That love took her and her children to the U.S., where she attended the Arts Institute of Atlanta for 2 years to study film. Upon her return to Bermuda, she worked for CITV and had the experience of filming Beyoncé's 2008 performance for the Bermuda Music Festival. She also went to Australia with the Bermuda Regiment, who requested her to film the 2009 tattoo. Her entrepreneurial spirit led her to found her own film production company, Moja Co-Productions, as well as other companies such as The Wonderful World of Weddings. As her daughter remembers, Rosheena had always had a passion for politics.
A lot of people thought she was going to be a politician, but she just decided to just put her voice and everything into her film.
On Election Day in 2017, for example, she took her camera to most of the polling stations to record what a Bermuda voting day was like. She also used her films to celebrate our island's culture and beauty, as in her DVD, Bermuda Beautiful. In 2014, she organized and hosted the first Black Women's Mini Video Film Festival in Bermuda. That inaugural event took place at Chew Sticks Neo Griot Lounge and focused on celebrating and empowering Black women. It included her own film, Before We Were Men, which she wrote and directed, posing the question, what if you had the power to choose your mama? Rosheena's empathy for children is very clear in her first published book, I Find It So Hard, which her daughter says was inspired by a conversation she was having with her 2 brothers. Initially, she wrote it as a poem and then a storybook. It inspired Janice Montoya, a mental health counselor of Denver, Colorado, to write a bibliotherapy lesson plan for the University of Louisiana. A second edition, Mommy Says, was chosen by the Children's Defense Fund to be a part of their Freedom Schools program. This edition includes Andrika symbols painted and carved by the Asante people of Ghana. The book proved very popular in American and Canadian bookstores. In 2019, Rosheena's life was tragically cut short but she will be remembered through her work, as well as the memories of her family and friends, for her vitality and huge engagement with life. It is entirely fitting Pat Pogson-Nesbitt is being honored tonight with the Lifetime Achievement Award for her massive contribution to theater in Bermuda. For the past 50 years, her name has been synonymous with the theater since she has served it in so many different ways. She has been actress, director, producer, playwright, company founder, talk show host. Through those roles, she has, with phenomenal energy and commitment, brought to the Bermudian stage numerous theatrical events for our enjoyment. Many of her productions and scripts have reflected Bermudian society, as in her play, Pastor, Will You Marry Me Please? And, as she says, in many other plays, so many times audience members would thank me for presenting and oftentimes solving a challenging issue. However, she has also been educator and teacher par excellence, making the theatrical profession accessible to the young in ways that without her would have been impossible. A significant number of Bermudian performing artists now on the international stage can trace their success back to her ability not only to spot talent and to nurture it, but also to instill confidence. Eric Bean, Nicholas Christopher, Candace Furbett, Darren Herbert, Lana Young are examples of successful performing artists who benefited from Pat's direction long before they gained international recognition. Pat has received many awards, both here and abroad, including the Visitor Industry Partnership Award for production and the She Is a Legend Trailblazer Award from Women of Culture, Inc. in Florida. Pat was born in Bermuda to Ethel Pugson and Austin Wade in 1959, educated at the Central School, now Victor Scott, and at Work Academy. She took part in school plays. At her friend Dr. Terry Lynn Emery's suggestion, age 13, she joined the Bermuda National Youth Theater Company, directed by Hastings Soltis. He gave her the lead role of Tommy in Alice Childress's The Wine and the Wilderness, and it was then her interest in drama became a passion. Convinced she should become an actress, he became her mentor, directing her in several well-known plays, such as Joseph Walker's The River Niger, performed by his company, Theater Associates Bermuda. This experience prepared her for studying at Howard University, his alma mater, where, to her delight, Walker was one of her professors. Arriving at Howard in 1977, she would spend the next 7 years in the States studying her BFA with a major in theater and education, while also teaching in many schools. In addition, she became a member of the Nubian League touring company, teaching African history through the performing arts at schools and libraries throughout the Washington metropolitan area. She also toured with the Howard Players as their vice president for a year before returning to Bermuda in 1983. Once back on island, she joined the Bermuda Youth Theatrical Traveling Roadshow, which for the next 14 years she would run as playwright, director, teacher, educator, and producer. Two of her proteges, Nadunja and Nashanti Bailey, would go on to form Entertainment, for which Pat created the characters Norman and Sia, often seen on television. In 1987, she began teaching at Devonshire Academy, then in 1992 became drama teacher at St. George's Secondary. Her rich and wide-ranging experience in the U.S. being a wonderful launching pad for her illustrious career in education. All the while, she was involved in theatrical productions outside school. For example, she directed for Linda Painter Productions from 1985 to 1990. This experience led her into taking a break from education to begin what she describes as her best job: co-founding, co-directing and co-producing the Jabulani Repertory Company, which offered live theater in the Hamilton Princess.
I ended up quitting teaching and doing that full time. That was my job. And this was the moment that I had been dreaming of while I was in college preparing to come home. Because this was real. It wasn't just a theater company that was doing a show and then we would pay the actors. This was real work. And so there were auditions. There were lots of readings, auditions, choosing the right pieces, making sure we had the right crew, all of that which I was trained to do.
After Jabulani, she went on to form her own The Company, featuring the episodic dramas She's Got Issues and the Fat Girl series. She also became director, founder, and artistic director for Pride's performance team, and then from 2000 to 2006 was head of the English department at Delwood Middle School. From 2007 until her retirement from public school education in 2022, she was drama teacher and instructional leader for the arts at Cedar Bridge Academy. During 2 summer vacations, she took students to participate in Youth Creates at 7 Stages Theater in Atlanta. While at Cedar Bridge, she also inspired students to form their own noir youth theater company. As artistic director, she encouraged them to write original monologues, producing them in a production called Loud Souls, and publishing them in 2 books. 2 students, Ayanna Richardson and Dahlia Gibbs, went on to study at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, while Zaire Adams and Kaylin Jones are now studying technical theater in London. Tonight, Pat is rightly honored for her personal achievements as a seasoned professional. How grateful Bermuda is, she has inspired in so many of her students and actors the desire to continue her legacy.
I have to take this opportunity to thank Jennifer Phillips and the Bermuda Arts Council for honoring me with this award. I'd like to thank the Minister, the Honorable Owen Darrell, JPMP, for agreeing that I'm the person that should receive it. But most importantly, I have to thank the Bermuda public and all of the people that have ever worked with me for allowing me to hone my skill and to grow you and the Bermuda community in the theater arts along with our children, because they are our succession plan. So thank you very much.
For more than 2 decades, historic Carter House has surely been one of our best loved attractions, especially when it shares with the public St. David's Christmas traditions every December. Sitting atop a hill in Southside, with its bumpy roof, step chimney, and welcoming arm staircase, the cottage is the epitome of the early 18th century Bermudian charm. It's difficult to imagine today that once the American base left St. David's, Carter House might either have been destroyed or left to molder into ruins. And yet, that's exactly what could have happened had it not been for Richard Spurling, or Rick as he prefers to be called. In 1998, the National Trust could not afford to protect this building, once a private home and subsequently a beauty parlor, post office, and museum on the base. Local historian Joyce Hull called upon Rick in his role as UBP member of Parliament for St. David's constituency to act.
She didn't have to persuade me. We agreed that we would put together and establish a St. David's Island Historical Society and become a charity and raise funds to restore it.
Elected trustee and president, he then spearheaded the building's restoration, both as historic house and a museum. As a museum, Carter House has had a more vitally important role to play than be merely quaint. It commemorates and honors a way of life that could so easily have been forgotten. Retired senior partner at Appleby Spurling and Kemp, Rick has served the community in ways too numerous to mention and has received many other awards, including the Queen's Badge of Honor in 2015 for community service. But tonight, the Bermuda Arts Council honors him with the Founder Award in recognition of all he has achieved to preserve St. David's cultural heritage, protecting it from possible oblivion. Not only did he restore this beautiful museum, in 2013, he also researched and designed the adjacent authentic reproduction of a settler's cabin in commemoration of Bermuda's first official settlement in 1612. Born in 1946 to the Honorable Sir Dudley and Lady Marian Spurling, Rick reckons his interest in history must be in his DNA. Growing up in Wellington near St. George's historic buildings was beneficial as well. His early exposure to St. Peter's through his church warden grandparents would lead to a lifelong commitment to St. George's Anglican Church. By happenstance, age 7 or 8, he found his first 18th century regimental button in the family garden, the start of many he would find there. This passion for collecting treasure would come in very useful when finding exhibits for Carter House. His awareness of St. David's as a special place happened early too. His father, an MP for St. David's, often took Rick to many events there, particularly to the County Cup games. Rick would also go fishing with his father's friend, Gilbert Lamb, who became his good friend too. Schooled at St. George's Grammar School until 1959, Rick pursued further education in Canada, the US, and ultimately England, where he read law at Oxford, eventually being called to the Bermuda Bar in 1977. But his career and roles as husband to Jane and father to 4 children did not impede his commitment to community work, as St. David's Islanders would discover. Once founded, the St. David's Society leased Carter House from the BLDC for 1 lilybub a year, and went on to raise $150,000 needed for taking out walls, putting in new floors, rewiring, and plumbing. Later, it opened up the second fireplace on the north side. In that fireplace, Rick, true to form, found a musket bowl, which became one of the museum's many exhibits. From the start, the Society's board members knew they wanted to communicate the history through stories.
These people were the ones that recall living in St. David's prior to 1941. And we asked them about everything. One thing that was consistent throughout was the fact that they had a most beautiful childhood. They said they loved the freedom and they never wanted for anything. I mean, St. David Islanders were the most self-sufficient, independent group in Bermuda. They didn't depend on anybody.
The greatest challenge was compressing so much history in such a small space. They devised a unique way of presenting the history on small, exchangeable panels attractively framed in Virginia cedar frames. More recently, Rick completed the project by creating an indigenous garden surrounding the property. Under Rick's leadership, the St. David's Society has supported the culture of St. David's in other ways. The Society fundraised for the St. David Island Reconnection Committee at its inception before it became a charity in its own right. In addition, the Society founded and fronted the Bermuda Gig Club, a well-known rowing organization inspired by St. David's piloting heritage. More recently, the Society has erected a plaque overlooking Annie's Bay as a tribute to St. David's culture and the land sacrifice for the base. However, as Rick emphasizes, Carter House is probably one of my biggest achievements over 20 years. It's very much a passion of mine, as is St. David's itself. How fortunate for Bermuda that is.
Well, I am certainly appreciative of the Arts Council Award, the Founders Award. Something I wasn't expecting. What is nice about these awards, in particular this one, is the recognition. I think the fact that somebody recognizes what I am doing and have done is important. Thank you. Thank you very much.
It all began as a tribute by Clement Talbot to his father, Ross Blackie Talbot, on his birthday. A gathering of friends to celebrate a milestone and one of Bermuda's true ambassador, Ross Blackie Talbot, a member of the legendary Talbot brothers, immortalized now some 13 years later by an event that reaches every segment of our community.
In April 1993, who could have guessed the amazing significance a surprise event arranged for Ross Blackie Talbot's 75th birthday would have for many Bermudian charities? Of course, his son, Clement E.F. Talbot, knew about the event because he had arranged it, a golf tournament held at Castle Harbor for 28 of his and his father's specially invited friends from here and abroad. But Clement didn't foresee the consequences this tournament would have either. After it was over, some of his guests enjoyed it so much, they handed Blackie and Clement a $750 check for the charity of their choice on the condition the event be held the following year. And so that day, the Ross Blackie Talbot Charity Classic was born. For the next 20 years, Clement was chair of this hugely important annual tournament in Bermuda's golfing calendar, raising over that period $4 million for approximately 85 charities in Bermuda, some of which were directly related to the performing arts. In 1999, he also became chair and trustee of the new Ross Blackie Talbot Foundation, founded with the specific aim of promoting the performing arts for the young. Between 2000 and 2012, the foundation raised $400,000 in scholarships that ranged from $5,000 to $20,000 for Bermudian students pursuing a musical and performing arts degree. Tonight, the Bermuda Arts Council fittingly honors Clement with the Patron Award in appreciation of his hard work and dedication to both philanthropic organizations. Born in 1945 in Bermuda to Ross and Marguerite Talbot, Clement grew up with his two brothers and sister, very aware of his father's fame as a member of the prestigious Talbot brothers. He vividly remembers his father playing his guitar and practicing his songs on the patio of their home. After graduating from St. George's Secondary School, Clement chose a different career from the one in the entertainment world. He attended the Dominion Business College in Toronto, Canada, and then joined the Bank of Bermuda in February 1966 to pursue, as he says, a varied and progressive career until his retirement in 2012. However, in order to supplement his salary at the bank, he also had a full-time position at the then Hamilton Princess as nightclub captain, becoming the acting nightclub manager before his resignation in 1980. While management wanted him to make hospitality his career, he preferred the security and stability banking offered. As an adult, Clement was a keen golfer. "My father played golf with me and my friends at Castle Harbor every Saturday," he remembers. And so came about that first tournament at Castle Harbor for his father's birthday.
He was so excited to see his longtime friends in the hospitality industry that he was speechless when he asked them, "What are you doing here?"
Once it was decided the tournament would be repeated the following year, Clement vividly remembers being taken out to lunch by the president of Riddles Bay Golf and Country Club, who asked for it to be held at the club.
And he indicated that he and his board of directors at Riddles Bay, they wanted to help to remove that perception of Riddles being a racially biased club.
Since the Talbot brothers' ethos was all about breaking down the racial barriers and bringing Bermudians together, Clement and his father supported the idea, as did the evolving committee. From then on, almost without exception, the RBTCG, becoming a 3-day event, was held at Riddles Bay. Organizing the annual classic took a lot of time and commitment, Though Clement is very grateful for his dedicated committee as well as generous sponsors, the leading one being the Bank of Bermuda, now HSBC. A wide range of Bermudian charities benefited, but within the arts community. Masterworks Museum of Bermuda Art, the Bermuda National Gallery, and the National Dance Foundation were all frequent recipients. Towards the end of his life, Ross became disappointed live music was declining in Bermuda, as he always wanted to see young Bermudians pursue a musical career. To that end, the Ross Blackie Talbot Foundation began in 1999, which the RBTCG supported as one of its charities. As well as giving scholarships, it also made other donations, including a Brentwood piano for Victor Scott Primary School, as well as musical instruments for disadvantaged children. In 2008, Clement, as well as the foundation's trustees, were concerned that the Talbot brothers would be forgotten by future generations. The foundation therefore funded a pictorial history book, Bermuda's Famous Talbot Brothers, which captures their significant contributions and the racial barriers they overcame. After the final classic was held and the foundation closed, in 2012, Clement was awarded the MBE. As he looks back, Clement says,
The classic was an event that I felt had a history of bringing different walks of life, different social levels together, and enabled Bermuda as a whole to bond over that 3-day period.
both organizations gave back so much to Bermuda, and that makes him very happy.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank the minister, the chairperson of and the entire board of the Bermuda Arts Council for providing this very prestigious award to me. I know that my father is looking down and smiling upon this occasion.
For many St. David's Islanders, the beginning of the 21st century was not just about heralding a new age. It was about reconnecting with the past, about recovering ancestry. Some had always been aware of their links with at least one Native American tribe, but it wasn't until 2001 an interested group of people met and decided to invite Tall Oak Whedon, activist and historian of Meshantucket, Pequot, and Wampanoag descent, to speak at the St. David's Cricket Club. Retired inspector of the Bermuda Police Force, Bermudian St. Clair Brinky Tucker hosted that meeting at his house in St. David's and was subsequently asked to host Tall Oak, which he was very happy to do. And so he joined the hundreds of people thronging inside and outside the club to hear Tall Oak's talk. So successful was the occasion, the St. David's Island Reconnection Indian Committee was formed, which led to Bermuda's first 2002 powwow, a reconnection festival also held at the St. David's Cricket Club, and now a biannual event.
St. David's Islands always felt that they were part Native American, because of word about the kitchen talk. When we had our first powwow, it was something to see because quite a few people, they cried, they hugged each other because they never thought that they would get any recognition for their ancestry.
Important for Bermuda, Tall Oak's initial visit inspired Brinky, as he prefers to be called, into seriously pursuing his interest in the Native American side to Bermudian history. Voted chairman of the committee, Brinky went on to research and write his excellent book, St. David's Island, Its People, History, and Culture, which would receive the Daniel Award from Atlantic Publishing House in 2022. But he would also generously use his extensive research on Native American historical and cultural connections between Bermuda and New England to share his knowledge by talking at many of our island schools, churches, and public institutions. Thanks to Brinky's book and work, our children and future generations will no longer be ignorant of or uneducated about our Native American heritage. No wonder the Bermuda Arts Council honors Brinky tonight with the Founder Award. Brinky did not grow up in St. David's. Born to Brinkworth and Isabel Tucker in 1941, he spent his early years in Pembroke. But while his father was from Paget, his mother, née Griffiths, was a proud born and bred St. David's Islander, who often referred to herself as a Mohawk. Both my grandfather, Charles Griffiths, and my great-grandmother were pilots from St. David's. My ancestors can be traced back to St. David's for many generations, as far back as Rebecca Pitcher Ludlow, who was born in 1782 in St. David's and died in 1885, Brinky explains. Twice a year, together with his mother and one of his brothers, he would visit his family by taking the train from Blackwatch Pass to St. George's and then Daisy Ferry to St. David's, where they would disembark and walk to Chapel of Ease. As he grew older, he became casually interested in his own family history.
As a matter of fact, in our area in Pembroke, there were several St. David's Islanders that used to meet and discuss information about St. David's. You know, and I remember that vividly.
And he would also, as a teenager, go to St. David's more frequently to spend a lot of time with his grandfather and his second wife, discovering they were also related to the Fox family. However, in 1961, Brinky began his 30-year career in the police, during which he served as ADC to Premier John Swan and as Black Rod. He was also a skilled cricketer, playing for Somerset at one cup match. In addition, he was a Freemason and in 2003 was appointed Provincial Grand Master of Bermuda. It was during this period he was devoting so much time to research. In 2006, Dr. Kim Robinson, then Folklife Officer of Cultural and Community Affairs, begged him to write a book about St. David's, which, of course, he did with the help of his family and Dr. Rosalind Howard. He published the book in 2009 after conducting many interviews with family and elders and the late Tony Block, as well as extensive research in the archives at the Bermudian Publishing Company and in libraries in New York and England.
Dr. Kim Desmond Robinson, she was a thorn in my side, a pleasant thorn. She begged me to write a book. And I said, it's not a part of my forte. And she, a couple of times, she, please write a book about St. David's. I discussed it with my family, my two sons and my wife said, we'll help you. And I started reading and researching and reading, and I got information from elders from here.
Ironically, his research revealed that while Native Americans of many different North American tribes were brought to Bermuda, they did not include Mohawks.
I found out that Mohawks never came to Bermuda. The Mohawks was a very strong tribe. The English couldn't conquer them.
Tall Oak's 2001 Bermuda visit was the first of many, with Brinky always being his host. But Brinky would also stay with Tall Oak's family in Rhode Island, and over many years established connections and friendships with the Native American community. He has on separate occasions received 5 eagle feathers, the highest possible Native American award, for his commitment to teaching Native American history in Bermuda. In 2022, he gave a very well-received presentation at Harvard University on the history of enslaved Native Americans in Bermuda. Understanding one's past is a fundamental human need. As Brinky says,
I think it's absolutely important. You know, you got to know where you come from, where you are, and where you're going.
Thanks to his dedication, we now have that knowledge.
Well, at this stage, I would like to thank the entire committee of the Bermuda Arts Council for selecting me, for interviewing me, and to encourage me to further my studies with regards to the Native American history. Again, many thanks.
On behalf of all of the members of Bermuda Arts Council, congratulations again to our 2022 Lifetime Achievement, Founder, and Patron of the Arts awardees. Thank you again for your invaluable contributions to Bermuda's artistic and cultural makeup. I'd like to once again acknowledge the support of the Department of Culture, which facilitates Bermuda Arts Council's objectives of encouraging the practice of all genres of the arts in Bermuda and underscoring the importance of art and culture to our community as we promote our local artists, past, present, and future. Stepping down after serving on the Bermuda Arts Council for over a decade, I'm pleased to pass the baton to the incoming chair, Miss Shanna Hollis, herself a talented artist and passionate champion of the arts in Bermuda. I have no doubt that she will thrive in the role and continue the good work of the Bermuda Arts Council for years to come. The future is bright.